Opioids, or pain pills as they're commonly called, truly are modern medical miracles. They've helped thousands of people overcome pain in accidents, childbirth, and many other traumas. They're also so readily available that people with lower grade pain, such as painful illnesses or recovery periods, are also have the accessibility to these drugs. Now, we all can agree that opioids have a huge benefit to society, but they also have a dark side. This dark side is abuse. The abuse of opioids is at an all-time high. Now, my argument today is not to condemn opioids. We all can agree on that. My argument today is to advocate the increase in regulation of the prescription of opioids and their consumption, and that all of us can be a little bit more educated on how to avoid this abuse. Now, opioids come from the poppy plant. The poppy plant also makes another drug commonly known as heroin. The American Society of Addictive Medicine says that opioids and heroin have identical effects of pleasure on the brain. Not only are they similar in what they do to our bodies, they're similar in their medical makeup, and that is very significant. If we come over here to this image, we can see two pictures. Can you tell the difference? Well, you don't need to be an organic chemist to tell. This one on the left is opioids, this one on the right is heroin. But there's hardly a difference. And there's hardly a difference in the effect it has on your brain. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention estimate that abuse of opioids has led to about $80 billion in economic costs. Also, people who are taking opioids for chronic pain, of these people, about 20% aren't doing it correctly. 8 to 12% of these people have an abuse problem. And the most staggering stat is that 80% of people who are addicted to heroin, they all started by abusing opioids. Now, we ask ourselves, why would a doctor prescribe opioids as readily as they do if they're the gateway to things such as heroin? And the answer is simple. As more and more Americans rely on socialized medical programs such as Medicare and Medicaid, doctors aren't making money on every single patient they see. To counter this, they fill their schedules with more patients to make up for lost revenue. While doing this, they spend less time with patients and more time trying to get to the next one. As a cure-all, they often write prescriptions for opioids because they're able to cure pain of any type. The New York Times wrote a story recently, and this suggested that doctors who are the targets of heavy marketing from opioid companies, who get meals paid for, have trips, and have their clinical fees paid for by these companies, they have higher rates in opioid overdoses of their patients than other doctors without these same targets. That's staggering. So, doctors and physicians need to get the training necessary to be able to avoid that. As a future doctor myself, I vow to take any sort of training that is needed so that I am not part of the problem. Dr. Harris, in his address to Congress from the American Medical Association, said that doctors, in order to stop this, need to get more training in medication-assisted programs. And that includes plans so that patients can do everything possible to stay off opioids for a long amount of time. Now, the other side of the argument is this: opioids are so great. Why would we ever try and put a stop to that? And that's because we can both agree that opioids are great, but they also have a downside, and that's addiction. If we look at my second image here, we can see a stat. These are overdoses of prescription opioids, and we can see a huge spike in it recently. Along with that is a huge spike in heroin overdoses. Not only are people becoming more addicted to opioids, but they're becoming more addicted to more dangerous drugs such as heroin. Now, if we become educated, if we advocate for tighter regulations on prescription and consumption of these opioids, we can curb the staggering abuse that is going on in this country. Opioids have a huge benefit. They help people go through traumas, and I wouldn't trade the world for the effects that they've had on members of my family and the pain that they've gone through. But we need to work together to become educated and to advocate for these regulations to curb this abuse problem. Thank you.